Jones. Team is foul number 13 on the.
Hey folks, Mr. Bowtie here. Keep banging home that red subscribe button on your screen so that way you can stay up to date on all the great local sports coverage that TV and radio refuse to cover. Thank you so much and enjoy the show.
Sahara, first off, the SEC we know is always tough. It's tougher this year because you guys are in the top 6, but South Carolina was number 1. Just maybe briefly, first off, about the competitiveness of the SEC that you've entered into.
It's really competitive. The girls are stronger and faster, and they know how to play basketball. It's, of course, better than high school, something that I've gotten used to over the time playing in practice with the team.
We talked last April about how right at the high school sports season stopped literally right after the girls' tournament got done. So you got finished, but we talked about some of that acclimation period that all freshmen would have lost with their sports. How were you able to acclimate to the college game? Because a lot of that summertime stuff you kind of missed out on just because of quarantine and all that stuff.
How I dealt with it, I was just getting in the gym, and when I was in the gym, I was wearing a mask. In summertime, I actually came down here and I had summer school, and we got into the gym, but we had to stay 6 feet apart and do certain things a certain type of way, but I was still in the gym.
How were you able to build up your game? Because again, you came in with a lot of expectations. 5A girls basketball player of the year, state runner-up 2 times in 3 years in high school. So the bar was already going to be set high for you, and I'm sure your teammates as well as opponents probably knew that.
Yes, we just worked hard in practice, and going against them every day has really helped me because they've been playing in the SEC for a long time. So going against them every day, them pushing me to my limits is just great.
We saw volleyball at A&M has had to go through a nightmare schedule, part in the fall, part in the spring. We're seeing Kiana Williams, who you know very well from San Antonio, Stanford, having to go through quarantine and being a road team. How have you all been able to kind of keep it all together in what has been obviously an odd season?
We've kept it together just by not going out as much, staying close with each other instead of just going out with other people, always wearing a mask, staying 6 feet apart. We get tested about 3 days out the week. So that's helped a lot, and that's how we've been staying.
We know A&M's obviously going to make the tournament. It's going to be all here in San Antonio, so it's not that far of a drive. I guess first off, is there any sense of sorrow in that you lose the home games potentially, since the top 16 would host first and second round? Or for a school like A&M, does it not really matter because you're only 170 miles from San Antonio?
Personally, I think for us, it really doesn't matter. I mean, whatever happens, we're going to go in there and we're going to do our best.
For some of the players like you, for Kiana, for Nalissa Smith, as well as maybe Amber Ramirez, who might be in the tournament, just a thought on now having it here in San Antonio, all 6 rounds, where now you kind of get to come home and try to maybe help build up the community with basketball that way?
I think it's great, us just going back home and playing in the Alamodome. Some of us have had bittersweet moments, as myself, and so is Kiana and Amber playing in that gym. But it just brings back so many memories, and for us to go back to San Antonio and play for our city is just so great.
Do you think there's more pressure playing for your city versus trying to win a national title in what's going to be one of the more wide open women's tournaments we've seen in a while?
I think it's about the same. Nothing's harder than the other because it's a lot of pressure on both sides. Just us being in our city and being on the come up is hard, and us going in and trying to win a championship is also hard.
When I talked to Kiana Williams, who of course played at Wagner with Camacho, she mentioned about kind of being the ambassador, trying to show young girls here in San Antonio about the high octane of basketball. Do you kind of feel like you and Smith and her are kind of the same way, being ambassadors to bridging the current community of young girls to maybe the future college and pro stars?
Yes, I do think so, because it's hard in San Antonio to kind of get recognized. So us being on the circuit and us playing with our AAU team has definitely helped a lot, but they actually paved the way for me in high school and also in AAU. So I just looked up to them.
We mentioned last year when we talked after you got the award about how the bar for San Antonio is now much higher. It's not just simply be happy to get to the semis, lose by 30 to Dallas or Houston school, and then go home with the bronze medal. How have you noticed it maybe now being a year out of high school where things have changed, where we're seeing more teams, even with the traditional powers, Judson Steel, Vets, along with new teams in Northside and Northeast coming up, and even Fredericksburg?
I think it's awesome actually because Judson has actually been in the state tournament finals a lot of times and they've been there a lot. So it's great for them to be there and keep continuing. And the other schools are rising and continuing to try to keep the tradition of going to the tournament and not trying to lose to the Dallas and Houston teams.
This year's tournament's kind of changed because they've gotten rid of the regional tournament. They also, the semis now are going to be Region 4 will play Region 3, which means instead of playing the Metroplex in the semis, now you're going to play Houston. Do you kind of see that maybe helping the area just because it's easier to go up against most of the Houston teams versus having to play at Duncanville or Mansfield Timberview or an Argyle right away in the semis?
Yeah, I think that has helped a lot. Instead of just playing the big teams and already know that you're going to get blown out, it makes it better and the competition better.
Yeah, the your season, we know as far as the tournament itself, this is probably the first time I can remember where there's no favorite. Connecticut had that dynasty for a while, but there's been at least 6, 7 teams that have been number one. What's it going to feel like playing in the tournament, knowing where for the first time in a while there is no favorite?
It actually feels good knowing that there's not a favorite because it can anytime, any day, a team can lose. And so the being said, then any team can win this. And it's not just about a UConn or a Baylor. NC State has actually came up. Louisville is in it. We're definitely in it.
Of course, I can't shy away from talking about Camacho. And now that you're kind of a year removed from her, Kiana mentioned a lot of things that she learned. What did Camacho really kind of teach you when she was able to take a program that didn't exist 2 years before he got there and got him to the finals twice in 3 years?
What she did was really legendary and awesome. And I loved her being my coach. I still do love her. We still do talk. I still talk to the team and I just try and help them the best way I can. And so her taking us from JV to varsity has been great. And us just going to state with her has been an awesome change in direction.
Don't mean to bounce around, but with A&M being able to play locally, with potentially if you get some of the games are being played at Texas State and up in Austin, do you think at least that gives you all an advantage because you don't have to get on a plane, even though you lose potentially 2 home games, but you can just get on a bus, come down here, and be able to potentially bus back, or depending on where the rounds are?
I think it does give us advantage because most of the teammates here, my teammates, we're from Texas. So our parents come to the game is real convenient. Us just having to drive instead of fly.
And finally, just maybe a final thought on just the excitement, not just of playing in the tournament, but actually playing at home, playing in front of, or at least having being able to play in a place you're familiar with in San Antonio, the Alamodome, and just kind of that familiarity where maybe some other teams or even some of your own teammates maybe don't know what it's like to play in the dome.
Some of my teammates, they know what it is like Zay, Sierra. We all know what it's like to play in the Alamodome. So it's just going to bring back a lot of memories for us. Some of us have won, some of us have lost, but we're just going back in there with our heads held high.
Sahara Jones, as always, appreciate the time and best wishes to you all, not just on the rest of the season, but the tournament. It'll be exciting to see all the San Antonians back in town and being able to continue to raise that bar of expectations with girls basketball.
Thank you.